Operator tier lists are videos that people make all the time, myself included, but I want to do a little lore twist on an operator tier list and start doing them specifically only in their squads. So for this one, we're going to be looking at only Nighthaven operators and ranking them. And then another video, we're going to do each other squad as well. So I think this is a fun little lore twist on an operator tier list, mixing the lore with the gameplay as well. So if you like the idea, hit the like button and let's get straight into this. All right, so first off, we are going to be ranking Ace, and I think Ace is an easy S tier operator. I mean, he's one of the primary hard breachers in the game. You can't get much better than that. The AK-12 is an absolutely insane weapon. Of course, hard breach is just one of the most important roles. Off the top of my head, he's got Claymore and breaching charge, if I'm not wrong. I could be wrong. They might have changed that since the last time I even thought about it. But yeah, Ace is a very strong operator. Now, in a hard breach sense, I actually prefer Thermite, but as a preference, I can't deny that Ace is an amazing operator. I'd feel wrong to put him anywhere which isn't S tier. So yeah, no, easy S tier operator for Ace. Now let's jump over to the next Nighthaven operator on this list, which is Arini. Now Arini is an operator I love. I'm going to put her in A tier. I think her gadget is very useful. The Surya gates are really cool and bring a unique aspect to the game. But I also think one of the biggest things in her arsenal is actually her primary weapon, which is something I don't necessarily like to say because I'm more of a gadget first, gun second type of guy, and I think operators should be designed and balanced around that way. But for Arini to be one of the two defenders, being the first one of them on defense who have a DMR, I think that's something that we shouldn't overlook, because having a DMR with an ACOG on defense is absolutely incredible, because defenders are the ones, for the most part, if you're anchoring with a Rooney, you have the angle first. A lot of the time, attackers have to push into your angles. So having a DMR to hold these tight angles, to do all these little different tricks and positions and hold, brings a unique aspect to the game which other operators simply can't do. Same with Tuberau as well, also having a DMR, but Rooney was the first, and she also has a passive ability where she can destroy walls and open up hatches with her fist, which costs no utility at all. So I think Rooney is a really cool niche in the game, if that makes sense, more so for the fact that she has a DMR and what she introduced to the game, as well as being one of the few operators who still have a passive ability. A lot of operators don't have passives anymore. Rooney does. I just don't feel comfortable putting her in S tier, but I think A tier is a nice little location for her. Moving along the list, the next operator in Nighthaven is Ela. Now, I don't know, you might hate me for this. I might put Ela in C tier. For the longest time, the Scorpion wasn't really usable. I think it's definitely usable nowadays, and I have fun using the Scorpion. And the Gersmont mines are great if someone walks into them, but I think she's just a very shallow operator. Like, I think there's trap operators I would much rather play over Ela, like Fenrir, for example, or Legion. Not to say that they are the exact same as Ela, but I feel like you can somewhat achieve the same thing. Now, don't get me wrong. When I'm an attacker and I hit a Gersmont mine, I am like, oh my god, I'm so dead. Like, Ela is definitely a good operator. She's just kind of basic and uninteresting that I don't really care that much for her. Like, she's not bad, so it's not like I'm going to put her in like F tier or something like that. But I think like to put her any higher than C would just be quite like disingenuous. So I think C is a nice spot for Ela. I'm not saying she needs a buff or anything, but I just think she's a bit shallow, and I don't really care for her that much. The next Nighthaven operator on this list as well is Finka. She is probably A tier as well. I think being the only healer on attack definitely gives her a really interesting position, which no other attacker has. Loadout is very strong. Grenades are very useful, I think, in her loadout as well. A lot of people are using her as an entry fragger these days, which wouldn't typically be the first idea when you think of her gadget as being a team healer, because you would expect her to try and stay alive and assist the team. But I also understand why they are using her as an entry, especially since she can heal herself. And from a more like solo queue aspect, having an operator who can heal himself is probably very desirable, especially if they have an ACOG like Doc on defense. So I think Finka is great. I don't really want to bump her up to S tier purely because I have some other S tier operators in this list. And off the top of my mind, I wouldn't put Finka alongside them. You're welcome to disagree. This is my list. You're welcome to make your own. But I think she's probably A tier and potential of S tier, but I personally wouldn't put her there. Moving along to the next Nighthaven operator, we have Grim. Now, Grim is an S tier in my opinion. Grim is also a really funny operator because like he launched like terrible. Like it was awful. If you picked Grim at launch, you were throwing. It was slow, clunky, hard to get, you know, anyone to even walk in the bees because they took so long to deploy. He was just a wasted pick of an operator. Then they started to tweak him a bit more, added the bailiff, added the option to do the bounce option and stuff like that, and gave him more canisters and everything. And now he's like an amazing operator. Like you should a bee in the room and that's area denial like crazy. Pings a location, gives it to the whole team. Yeah, Grim is absolutely insane now. He also has useful secondary gadgets as well. I think he's got what, EMPs and hard breach right now. They change it all the time with these operators. I'm starting to forget. I'm getting old. But yeah, I think S tier for me is definitely Grim. I know a lot of people would maybe fight that, like I'm saying, that Finka should maybe swap places with him. You're welcome to agree with that or disagree with that, but I think Grim is an easy S tier. I just love playing Grim. He's an absolute blast, absolute menace at the high level of the game as well. Yeah, I think they cooked with him as an operator. He was definitely a trust the process operator. IQ is probably a B tier operator for me. Again, useful gadget, but I feel like she just falls flat in so many areas because it's like, yeah, she's great, especially if you're like comboing her with like a Brava and there's an IQ on the board. You can do a lot of stuff, a lot of great combos there. Hunt down the vault cameras, hack them. She's great, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if she gets a remaster at some point. Or I think it'd be pretty cool if they gave her secondary impact EMPs. I know a lot of people say that would make her a one-man army, but I really don't think it would. I think like IQ would still be perfectly balanced even with EMP impacts, but she also does have frag grenades right now, which I think is good on her as well. But yeah, I feel like maybe a bit more should come to IQ because I've seen a lot of people saying like if they were to remaster more operators, I'd like to see an IQ remaster. I think for a lot of people, IQ is just shallow, which I hate to say because she's actually very useful, and maybe that comes down to a lot of players just, you know, being a bit too impatient or she's not as flashy for them. So I definitely agree that like IQ isn't like the most enjoyable operator to play, and there'll definitely be situations where I feel like my impact on the round has just been like nothing, but I don't think she's bad. So I think B tier fits her nicely. I don't want to say like she's on par with Ella in my opinion, but I also don't think she's on par with Finka and Arini, so B tier is a nice spot for her. Right, the next Nighthaven operator we have is Callie. A lot of people might hate me for this, but I actually think Callie is A tier. I love Callie. Like, if you watch my streams, if you watch my clip videos, I play Callie so much. I think the Lance is a very useful gadget. I actually think the Sniper is very good, which I understand is a bit of a disconnect, especially since I'm on PC, and it's probably easier to hit sniper shots on PC than it is on console and stuff like that. But when you get into that close range gunfight, that secondary SMG works like an absolute charm. I actually really like Callie. I know a lot of people want her to get a remaster. I know a lot of people aren't favorable on the primary sniper, and listen, I have my moments where I'll like shoot an operator in the chest and then they'll re-peek me and kill me, and I'll be like, what the you know, what's the point here? I have a sniper. So don't get me wrong, I have my moments with Callie where I crash out, but I think overall as an operator, I find the Sniper very interesting and useful. I think the secondary SMG is very good, and I think her gadget being like a main alternative to like Thatcher and stuff, for example, is actually genuinely very good. And if she didn't have a sniper, I think Callie would definitely get a lot more credit. So I think a lot of like her placement will come down to not so much how you feel about the gadget, but more how you feel about just having a sniper in general. So for me, it doesn't bother me. I'm quite good with it, so she's an A tier, but I'd understand if you would put her lower because you're not fond of the sniper. I 100% understand that. Alright, so the next Nighthaven op we have on this list is Osa. She's probably another A tier operator as well. I think the entire concept of having like a deployable shield on attack is really cool. A lot of people said that she should have been in the Blackbeard rework, and I think Bikini Bodhi actually made like a concept very similar to Osa, saying it should be a Blackbeard remaster, sort of to be like a attacking version of Mira, and then Osa came out, so people were like, oh, they made it into an operator. I love Osa, I love her loadout. I think she's very fun. She's been like one of my mains for the longest time, and still to this day, if I'm like needing to fall back on an operator, Osa is one of them. I like mained her a lot since she came out. I think it'd be unfair for me to put her in S tier right now just because she is one of my mains. I don't want to be like, you know, I think that'd be a bit unfair. I know it is my list, so I'd probably be well in my right to do so, but I think for like integrity and like truly being honest, I would put her in A tier, not S tier. But I think the way that she's able to like take control and hold down positions is really unique in a way that, yes, shields could technically do before, but she does it in a much different way and allows other teammates to do it in a different way. She actually introduced a lot to the attacking team for a new operator, as new operators should be. So I absolutely love Osa, and I think her character is really cool as well. And yeah, A tier operator. All right, the next Nighthaven operator we have here is Pulse, and I actually might get a lot of hate for this one, but I think Pulse is D tier. I don't like Pulse that much at all. I think his gadget, you know, being one of the core gadgets to ever come out in Rainbow Six Siege, and it's just, it's fine. That's all I can say. I think I can say it like Ella. It's like, it's fine. I feel like if I have an Ella on the board compared to a Pulse, I know that Ella's probably going to have more impact, hence why she is higher. But it's like, Pulse is like very situational. Like, yeah, it's good to have an operator that can see heartbeats and, you know, use a nitro cell and stuff like that. But especially if, like, he's going to be playing below a bomb site, any competent team will just be like, well, we'll clear out the Pulse first. Like, we'll bring a shield or something like that and go below and take out Pulse so we can't do, like a stop a plant at some point. And it's like, especially with, like, Pulse then having to fight back on that, he has to put his scanner away, which means he'll be missing a lot of stuff because he's then in a gunfight. And he also has the UMP, which isn't really a favorable SMG at all, so he's going to get outgunned by a lot of weapons as well. It's like, he's a cool idea, it's a cool concept. I don't think he needs changes, but like, he's just too situational for me to bring him a bunch. And I have fun when I play Pulse, but it's just like, I would never go to jump on him and be like, yes, okay, we need a Pulse right now. And it's like, definitely strats where he works. Don't, you know, get me wrong, it's like me saying, oh, Pulse never works, Pulse is terrible. That's not what I'm saying at all. He's just far more situational than any of these other operators, and I just think there's a lot of room for failure, so it wouldn't be fair putting him any higher on the list. Next up, we have Smoke, who is one of the OGs of area denial, and I'd probably say he's S tier. Just, you know, a perfect operator all around. The smoke canisters do their job perfectly. If you get caught on one of them, it completely messes up your entire attack, your entire execute, your entire plan, slows down the enemies. The SMG and shotgun combo is an absolute classic. For close range and long range gunfights, they both have their strengths and weaknesses. Probably more weakness on the shotgun for long range than the SMG, because SMG is great at long and short range. But yeah, Smoke is like a perfect operator in my opinion. I don't think he needs touched. I don't think they need to do anything to him. I don't think he's OP. I think he's great, does his job well, is perfect. Easy S tier operator. Not more much I have to say on that. And if I've not missed any, the last Nighthaven operator who is actually on this list is Wamai. And I'd say he's an A tier as well. I don't think Wamai is necessarily better than Jaeger. I know probably factually he might be, but I love playing Jaeger just as much as I love playing Wamai. Having an alternative to Jaeger is something we thought we would never actually see in Rainbow Six Siege. Like when Wamai was like revealed and we got to see what his gadget was, a lot of people were like, oh my god, no way, he's a Jaeger alternative. Like this was from a time where like Jaeger was like the peak of defending Siege. Like there was a Jaeger every single round. The way you see people playing Doc and Vigil nowadays is how people used to play Jaeger, even when he didn't have an ACOG, because he had a great gun and useful gadget and was a 3-speed. So when Wamai came into the mix, you know, it was like, holy crap, there's another Jaeger on the board. And over the years, you know, they've had a bit of a race. Some people have had ACOG, being Wamai, and there's been some changes to the ADS, etc, etc. And we're at a bit of a stage where I think they're a bit neck and neck now. I know a lot of people prefer Wamai over Jaeger, but both very great operators. I love Wamai. To me, he just doesn't call S tier, which you can disagree with all you want. I just don't think, to me, he's like Ace, Grim, or Smoke. He's more in that A tier, but not bad at any stretch of the imagination. And I'm noticing a bit of a trend here. It's quite funny that the 3 operators I put lowest on the list are all ones who left Rainbow to join Nighthaven. So a bit of a funny lore moment there. But, you know, all great operators. I think every Nighthaven operator is great. But if I were to rank them, this is how I would do it. With Pulse being at the bottom and Ace, Grim, and Smoke being at the top. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How would you personally rate the Nighthaven operators in Rainbow Six Siege? This is how I would do it. I want to see your tier list, and let me know which squad I should do next. When we get to the Kiraz Legion, that's going to be a really funny one. It's just going to be Deimos. He'd be an S tier. Spoiler alert. So be sure to let me know your thoughts. Have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you later. Have a safe one.